Welcome to the Journeyman's Tales. Well, good afternoon everybody. I'm back out of my local Carp Syndicate, and the good news is last night the subscriptions went through the 400 barrier, so towards the end of the video I think I'm going to do a little bit of a competition and have a giveaway. In the meantime, I'm in the swim next door to the one I was before, so still got the island swims available to me. So I've got one long rod on the island and two in the island drop off, if you like, with a bit of spod over them. I'm using the same hinge stiff rig with a yellow popper that worked well for me last time, and I've got my wafter rig and another pop up in the deeper water on the drop off. But I've had a request from a guy called Dave Hibbett who wanted a bit more information about the bait and the rigs I'm using. So I'm going to do a little bit more to do with the spod, maybe a bit more in detail of that, and a quick run through of the hinge stiff rig that I've been using. And maybe if you want to see what terminal rigs I'm using, as in tubing or braided leaders and stuff like that, have a look at Between the Lines episode 12, I think it is, at Home Pool, and there's quite an in-depth bit for that. Anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to sit down, put my feet up, and I'll get back to you as soon as anything exciting happens. I posted this picture on Facebook whilst I was at the Birch for a bit of a laugh, but in reality this may be my last trip for a while, as I happen to fall into the at-risk category for the coronavirus. It just so happens that the carp fishing has got better and better so far this year, and this trip was no exception, with, spoiler alert, a new PB for me on this water. Enjoy, like, share and comment, but most of all, stay safe, and rest assured I'll be out fishing again as soon as possible. What I have here is what I call my cold water spod mix, or winter spod mix if you like, and I'm going to just run through in a bit more detail how I put it together. So my cold water spod mix is built around the CC Moore live system, and I start off with a couple of kilos of frozen boilies that goes into the blender and is ground up quite fine. I don't want too many big lumps in it. To that I add a kilo of the bag mix. Again, that's all mixed together, and then the liquids go in. Now they're 3 liquids, so it's a third each of the live system bait booster. The next one is Northern Special bait booster, and that's quite a fruity one. And the last liquid that goes in is some liver extract. And then to that I add a handful of Himalayan pink salt. And then lastly I put some corn in. In this instance it's not just corn, it's Marks and Spencer's corn, but get the cheapest you can get your hands on really. Once everything's been ground up and mixed together thoroughly, it's time to add the liquids. Now I generally treat it like I'm boosting my boilies, so I add a little bit of liquid, give it a good stir around, make sure it's all mixed thoroughly, and I'll leave it for a few hours to soak in. Then I'll come back to it and add some more liquid to it, give it another good mix, and I'll repeat that process for a good few days before I actually go fishing. Then the last thing I'll do is to add some corn to it. I don't tend to use too much corn at this time of year, and I'll also add some of the Himalayan salt, and then it's just a case of giving it a good stir around and ready to go really. So that's my cold water spod mix. David, what I'm going to do is show you the rig that was catching the fish on the last episode, which was the hinge stiff rig. And the bait I was using for that particular rig was a Northern Special yellow pop-up, which is obviously quite a fruity bait. So I'm going to just go through the components I use and how I put it together. these are the components I use to make the pop-up section for the hinge stiff rig. Now I like to use a straight pointed hook as opposed to a beak one, which would be the norm, but any decent chod filament as well will do. Anyway, take a length of the chod filament and put it in through the back of the eye, so you have the curve, the natural curve of the filament in the position that you'd actually want it. Then I go round the shank eventually 10 times, but as I'm going round I release it, so I'm not putting any additional twist into the filament. Just round, let go of it, so I'm not twisting it. Round, not twisting it. And I'd say I go up the shank 10 wraps, which gives me a reasonable size D that I'm looking for. I find that about 10 wraps down the shank of a size 6 hook ends up around the point area. And then to finish off, I go back over the top of those wraps down towards the eye of the hook to lock it off. And you can see at the end of it that the natural curve of the filament is in exactly the right place for the curve I want for the pop-up section. Next thing I do is to put the Thinking Angler's ring swivel onto the extended tag end that's going to form the D section. Poke the end of that back through the eye and pull it up reasonably tight. Trim the excess off and then very carefully just blob the end of it, and then once it's cooled, just gently ease that blob back towards the eye of the hook, so you're forming a D on the back of the hook with the flexi ring swivel on it. Now the way I do it should end up with the natural curve still maintained in it. Right, now for the actual boom section I use Illusion in 30 pounds, and using a flexi ring swivel I tie an overhand figure of 8 loop with the swivel in it, and that will eventually be attached to the pop-up section. Again, I steam the knot down and then trim it off fairly close, and again carefully I just blob the end of it very slightly. Now I generally make my boom section about 180mm long, so I cut it off oversize, slide on a long anti-tangle sleeve in the khaki, and then I tie an overhand figure of 8 loop in the end again. It's the same procedure. I steam the knot down, cut the excess off, and again carefully just blob the end of it. Then the knot is covered up with the anti-tangle sleeve. So that's the boom section. Then the next thing I do is to tie the pop-up section onto the eye of the flexi ring swivel. Now I tend to do them quite short, but you aim to tie them slightly shorter than you actually want them, because when you steam the knot shut and put a bit of tension in it, it becomes slightly longer. So I do a 2-turn blood knot. So go twice round the main pop-up section and then back through the loop that you've created, and then just ease that down, put a bit of tension on it with the puller tools, and again I steam that so the knot sits down really nicely. Again, trim it off and carefully blob the end of it. And just mould a bit of the tungsten putty around the top eye and the knot that I've just created. And then you can impart just a little bit of curve into that pop-up section if you've lost it. And there you have it. That's the completed hinge stiff pop-up rig. So whilst I've been talking to you about bait and rigs and stuff, the guy in the swim that I fished a couple of weeks ago and had some success is beginning to pack away. Now, whilst he hasn't caught anything, and I don't think the guy before him hadn't caught anything, my head is saying, get your backside into gear, Jennings, and shift yourself before somebody else gets in there. Somebody was questioning me the other day about the way I was playing some of my fish, which, it has to be said, at times looks rather confusing. Let's be honest, nobody's more confused than me. When I started specimen hunting, as it was called in the 60s and 70s, I was using one of the famous Mitchell reels, the Mitchell 411. Whilst a very popular reel, it was fairly well recognised that the clutch was rather unreliable, and as a result most people seemed to backwind when playing larger fish. So even as the reels improved as years went by, backwinding was indelibly grained in my psyche. In any case, I tend to play fish a bit on the soft side and would give line way before a clutch would start giving out line, even if it was set properly. In recent years, I've replaced the clutch washers on my reels with ice washers, which are really smooth and indeed give line nicely when set properly. But after 40 years of backwinding, it's hard to purely rely on a clutch. I do try. As a result, it can be described as confusing, yes, I agree. But as Brendan Behan famously said, every cripple has his own way of walking. Up by 6 this morning, right hand of the two rods on the island, 30 pound and 3 ounces. I am ridiculously happy. That was on a new coloured boilie and a different rig. Nothing if not versatile. Oh dear, happy days. Here we go. Well pleased with that. Makes changing swims all the better, doesn't it? Fantastic. Well, I've been waiting for the rain to stop so I can get out and talk to you, but it's not heavy, it's just constant drizzle, so everything's getting wet. But anyway, look, quiet night. It didn't start clouding over till about 1 o'clock, but the air pressure's actually gone up. I would have thought it would have gone down. I was looking forward to it going down actually, but there you go. as I say, quiet night. But fortunately about up to 6 this morning, I had a run on the right hand of the 2 rods that are out fishing the island, and after a fairly ponderous slow fight had a 30 and a few ounces, so I'm absolutely thrilled to bits that the run of good fortune is continuing. But I put a zig out. Now I'm no zig angler, but I've been inspired by other people's catches to try a bit of zig fishing, so I'm doing that off to my left hand side, and I'm going to just keep playing with that all day, changing colours, fishing at different depths. I'm using the zig float, so that makes it a bit more versatile than retime rigs. Anyway, we'll give that a go for the rest of the day and see what happens. Fingers crossed something will turn up again on that island swim, because it's really been doing all right for me the last couple of trips, and other people as well from what I can gather. So, fingers crossed, and when it all kicks off again, I'll get back to you. Try and get this zig out of the way. I do wish they'd run the other way. Oh, that is pulling and pulling. Whew. Geese are going to oh, that's right. Trying to get a bit of slack in that other line because it's quite tight. That seems to have crossed it. Come away from those trees, you little hermit. I'm going to come up. It's going in the bloody trees now. Okay, you've had your fun, come on. Goodness me, come on. Well, it's certainly not me in control. No, not those trees. Right, come on now, up. Come on up, up. Oh, slightly unorthodox, but thank you very much. Jesus, now relax, Jennings, for Christ's sake. Okay, second bite. Excuse me, second bite of the morning. Out on the island, same rod. Take, come on, girl. How about that? 32 pounds, 6 ounces of absolutely stunning looking colour on that thing there, eh? Look at the oranges in that. It's got a bit of a scar on this side, I'll show you now. Put some treatment on before she goes back. Excellent. There we go. Absolutely stunning. Just hope I'm not using up all my luck. Anyway, get some treatment on her and get her back. She's passing quite a bit of stuff. Mind you, the other one was as well, but it's not my stuff because I'm not putting anything out there. But she's definitely been on the munch. There you go, girl. I know technically it's still winter, and I suppose you could call these winter carp, but spring is well on its way. Oh, it's up on the top. It's staying on the top, I know. Strange is that. Now I need you on the top, away from those trees. Come on, up you come. Ooh, don't like it when they stick their heads out and turn over. Come out. Thank you. There you go. 21.6. Yep, I thought it looked like a mid to upper double. Happy days. A third fish off the margin. There. I think we better get her back. It's starting to rain. She's been out long enough. 21.6. Excellent session. Come on. What I'm playing now is a lunatic common carp of about 4 or 5 pounds. Doing its utmost to totally trash the swim and wipe out all the rods. And whilst causing as much mayhem as it possibly can, it actually leaves the water to leap into the net. Unreal, these things. Pulling deep. Oh, he's pinging off fins all over the place here. Now he's got fed up and he's heading to. Come on up. She's wallowing. Just keep him well down. Now I'm going to call chaos close in. Ooh. Whew. First one on the left hand rod out there. How about that? 36 pounds and 13 ounces. That's another PB for this particular water. Absolutely thrilled to bits with it. I'll just turn around a quickie. Come on, baby. One more. Here she goes. How about that? Absolutely thrilled to bits. It's been, gosh, 5 years since I've had 330s in a session. Brilliant. Let's get her back. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm just making myself a cup of coffee and this pretty little 16 pounder turned up. What a cracker. Good morning. Didn't quite have such a quiet night last night, what with the rain and the geese kicking off, and eventually I got my first run in the night, which I haven't had for a while. Had a few bleeps on the right hand rod and then all of a sudden the middle rod just shot off, which produced that lovely 16 pounder. I presume it's one of the new stockies, and I don't know if they've been hand picked, but absolutely cracking looking fish. Anyway, it's time to start packing away. Hopefully the rain's going to hold off for a little bit this time. I'm not going to get everything too wet, but I did say at the beginning of the video that I was going to have a competition to celebrate going through the 400 subscriber mark. So if you want to win one of these VW Journeyman caps, this is the, I think they call it vintage style. Anyway, to enter the competition, just simply put a comment on the YouTube video and a like, and I'll give it probably a week, and then I'll use, they've got some kind of random comment chooser, and that will pick the winner, and I'll notify that on Facebook. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed and you want to get involved, please feel free to do so. Don't forget to like, share, and I'll see you all again in the not too distant future, I hope. Cheers for now.